Thank you for tuning in to the Black Money Tree Podcast, hosted by entrepreneur, investor, and philanthropist Jerome D. Love. We are committed to teaching you how to build wealth so that you can build your community. At the Black Money Tree, our goal is to empower wealth creation and create economic self-sufficiency in order to empower generations to come. Society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never enjoy. Powered by Wells Fargo Bank. Welcome to the Black Money Tree Podcast.
Welcome to the Black Money Tree Podcast. I'm your host, Jerome D. Love, and I'm excited about the Black Money Tree movement because our goal is to help you build wealth so that you can build your community. We believe that economic prosperity creates awesome communities. Oftentimes we talk about and discuss all the issues that face the African American community, the Black community, but the reality is the reason that our communities are the way that they are is because of money. We don't have the resources to build our communities, or the resources that we have aren't strategically focused towards initiatives that will build our communities. Many times it's because those that have the resources aren't from the community, so they don't understand our communities. So we believe that it's critically important for us to help businesses and individuals within our communities to build wealth so that they can then help to grow and build a more sustainable community. That's the mission of the Black Money Tree, and that is also the mission of the Texas Black Expo. Which is celebrating 20 years of service to the community this year. I'm really excited about our initiative and our movement. If you're not familiar with the Texas Black Expo, I want to invite you to join us May 18th through the 21st in Houston, Texas. We're going to have our grand summer celebration with NBA legend Magic Johnson. So on Friday, we're going to have a corporate luncheon with Magic Johnson. We're also going to have a masterclass called Entrepreneurship Through Acquisition. And we're going to teach individuals how to systematize their business so they could sell it, but also how to acquire businesses and franchising. We're going to have sessions on franchising your business. On Saturday, we're going to have sessions on building wealth through real estate and entrepreneurship. We have experts from across the country that's going to be convening that weekend in Houston, Texas, and we want you to join us. And if you're a vendor, you don't want to miss this opportunity to get a booth. Be sure to go to texasblackexpo.com, or if you'd like to schedule a call, if you're a vendor, and you want to learn more about the vending opportunities, go to book.texasblackexpo.com/callback, and someone from our team will call you and explain to you what's necessary to get your vendor booth. So with that said, I'm excited about today's guest. It's a tremendous entrepreneur, one who I've known for several years. She is in an industry that is one that is not necessarily known for having a lot of African Americans. She has her own beverage line. It's called Jive Juice Company. She's doing some tremendous work. She has a distribution in many of the major grocery stores throughout the state of Texas. And we're going to pick her brain and learn a little bit today about how do you start a beverage company. And today we have Miss Tamela Austin from Jive Juice Company. So welcome to the Black Money Tree Podcast.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
All right. So Tamela, let's talk about it. I always start all my interviews for the most part off the same way. I want to know how you grew up. Was entrepreneurship taught to you? Was money and wealth taught to you? What kind of background did you have, and what got you to become an entrepreneur?
Let me say first, Jerome, growing up as a young girl, I was raised by my grandparents.
Okay.
And my grandfather owned a barbershop. And of course, they in our community, they were on a fixed income. And so taking care of a high schooler, a middle school girl was, kind of a strain on them. So when I got to high school, I wanted to see, I wanted to be in the drill team. I wanted to participate, but I knew my grandparents were on a fixed income. So how could I help? And so I started selling cool cups and pickles out of my grandparents' house, not knowing then that I was developing entrepreneurship skills because my grandparents made me do everything. I would have to do all the prepping, buy what the materials and supplies that I needed. I was responsible for the customers, making sure when I got home from school, got up early, did all of the work. My papa gave me the first initial investment to go and buy the Kool-Aid and all the supplies. and he said, you're on your own. And so from there, I just had no idea that one day, yeah, I'd be making healthy juices now from that experience.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. You're probably one of the first guests that I've had that, while it doesn't sound like you were really taught business, you were encouraged and given the platform to start your own business at a very young age, even though you might not have even known what the word entrepreneur was.
Had no idea. It was always my grandparents told me, you've got to go to college, you've got to go get your degree and get your education so you can work for a big company and retire from there.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me some of the lessons. What lessons did you learn selling the cool cups and doing the things that you did that's helped you, if any, today?
I think I would say one of the great things about that experience for me at an early age, I learned about having great customer service skills, thanking my customers, appreciating them. If they came by, sometime I would do a special where they could get 2 for 1.
Yeah.
And, just being out there on the streets in front of the house and selling and making sure I had my signs up, cool cups. And the more I was able to have that experience with them, letting them know I'm just like you all. I'm a customer just like you all. And seeing those skills has been one of the critical things that I believe has helped me to grow my business and in my professional success.
So what about money? So you were raised by your grandparents. He had a barbershop, so that's an entrepreneurial endeavor. Mm-hmm. What about your grandmother? What did she do?
Grandma retired from the bank. She had worked for the old Texas Commerce Bank and retired. And so she was at home. She would be, making sure we had lunch, breakfast, and dinner, getting me to all my practices and things. But I saw how, she supported my grandfather who had retired from, of course, Brown and Root at that time. And he still wanted to work. He still had a life in him. So he had his own barbershop and he had his customers. And whenever I would go into the shop, my grandfather taught me the first time, you walk in here, you speak to everybody. So I'd walk into the barbershop, good evening, everyone, making sure before I went to address my grandfather for anything that I spoke.
Yeah. No, that's good. What did they teach you about money and finance? Was it anything?
Save, making sure I had each week, what I needed to buy, the supplies that I need to replenish, and then what I was going to save, because also, I was in high school, so I had senior fees I had to pay for because my grandparents wanted fixed income, uniforms, and going to dance camp during the summers. I paid for all of that because I was taught how to save my money to be able to do that. So as a senior, I was no expense to them.
You paid for all of your high school expenses from the funds from your business. And that was you didn't have another job or anything like that?
No, I saved the money. I worked hard. Summertime, when it was time to go to dance camp, I paid for all my uniforms. I was able to pay my registration for camp because I saved the money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I do the same thing with my kids. Now, they used to have a business, a car washing business, and some other things that they did. But when they got to employment age, my oldest daughter worked at Chick-fil-A. My next one worked at actually a juice bar, a Main Squeeze here locally. And then my other daughter has 2 jobs. She's a lifeguard and she works at another I can't remember. It's another little juice place or smoothie bar or something around here. But same thing. My oldest was like, I want a phone. And we got her a phone. It was a flip phone because at the time she was going to school downtown and we didn't want her. And we had to drop her off at one location. The bus picks her up and take her. And we didn't want her stuck out anywhere. Right. And she was happy at first. But when she realized that the flip phone was outdated and she wanted a smartphone. And I said, well, the only reason you need that phone is to call me and your mama. That's it. So she wanted an iPhone. Well, when she got her job, she made her money. She bought her iPhone. She paid her own bill, So I believe that those are some valuable lessons that kids can learn at an early age, when there's a safety net. And sometimes as parents, we just give and give and give and give and give. And we kind of negate some of those learning experiences for our children. So let's talk about Jive Juice. When did you start that company? Now, let's go back. You had the Cool Cup business. I know you from Jive Juice now. Were there any other businesses in between or any other entrepreneurial endeavors?
Oh, yes. Before I found my niche with Jive Juice, I went on to school. I graduated, attended Texas Southern University. And pretty much I worked throughout my college age. But before then, I was in event planning business. I love creating events and hosting events around the city of Houston. And most of this was geared from my church background. I was raised up at my church in Cashmere Garden. And just being busy and doing things and finding ways that I could interact in the community. At one time, I had a edible fruit basket business, Creative Delights. So I was making fruit baskets and delivering baskets all over Houston. But it was really when working in corporate America, I'd been in oil and gas for 20 years. And, when the oil and gas is good, it's good. But when it's bad, it's bad. So there was during a time where I had been laid off, not having any insurance at that time and benefits. I was like, okay, I was having some health challenges. I'm like, what can I do to help myself? And so I started doing the research and started juicing. I even went on to see Dr. Baxter Montgomery, who's one of the top cardiologists here in Houston, just to sit up under him to learn the pros and cons about the foods that we eat and nutritional and how I could help myself. And from there, just allowing, I've always been this community person. So using Facebook and social media to share my story, I started juicing and making recipes every day. And of course, single mom, I had my daughter. So all the recipes I would make, she would have to drink them too. I'm like, if I'm going to do this, you're going to do it too. Yeah. So I had to make sure that my beverages tasted good so that my child could drink them up too. She didn't know what else she was drinking. She didn't know all the fruits and vegetables in there, but she just know, Mama, this tastes good. So I can drink this. And from there, I believe I really found my passion because it was a part of me and I saw the benefits of it.
So Jive Juice, what is Jive Juice? Is it like, I'm familiar with juicing. I've juiced for years. Is it just straight up juicing, or is it like, talk about a little bit about what it is?
So Jive is an acronym for juicing is very essential. And one of the things that I wanted to do to really help differentiate myself from other juices is that I wanted it all natural. I didn't want any other preservatives, not water, nothing. I wanted the full benefits of all of the fruits and vegetables that we extracted to be able to absorb into my body and reap the benefits of it. And so I mean, from beets to celery to cucumbers to Brussels sprouts, to whatever I could think of, I would just put it in there and just juice it so that I could get the natural feel of it.
How do you, I guess where I'm at, two things are going on in my mind. One, from a person who juices and is kind of into natural stuff, but then also as a businessman, my businessman is how do you do that scale, larger scale. Then my health mind says, one of the things that I learned about juicing, my brother's really into natural health and wellness. And he had me watch a video when I started suffering from this vitiligo and I started having some joint pains and I couldn't figure out what was going wrong, but I found out that vitiligo is an autoimmune disease, but rheumatoid arthritis is also an autoimmune disease. And all of that's inflammation. And most of that comes from diet. Now, I went to the doctor. They never said I had rheumatoid arthritis, but my joints were hurting. So it got me kind of concerned if I was susceptible to one autoimmune disease, I might have another one. So he sent me this video called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. So I watched that video, started learning about juicing. I went on probably about a 2-week juice fast, cleansed my body, and then just started eating fruits and vegetables. And I never forget, I went to Chicago. And I ate a deep dish pizza. I said, man, I've been eating so good. I deserve a deep dish pizza. And I think I told you this story. And I took 2 bites out of that pizza, sicker than I've ever been in my life. And I realized how the things that we're eating are toxic to us. It's just our body builds up a tolerance and we're used to it. And it responds in more covert ways. You got dry skin, a little gas here. I feel a little tired. Let me take a nap. Yeah. We don't understand that's our body saying, you're putting toxins in me. But when I cleansed my body and then I ate it, it rebelled in a more demonstrative manner. Let's just say that. But the long way around on that, what I learned with juicing was you get the maximum benefits when you drink it fresh.
Right.
After a while, it oxidizes, and you probably could talk a little bit more about it than me. And they say that you're supposed to put it in a black container, a closed container. So how do you, one, scale your product, and two, are the nutritional benefits minimized by juicing it and then selling it? And the people may drink it 2-3 weeks later. It may sit on the shelf for a week. Or talk a little bit about that.
That was one of the biggest challenges I say that I faced when we were approached to go into the retail space. I mean, as long as I was doing it, in my kitchen, which is where I started at, and just delivering all around Houston, I would make the juices and then my customers would get them the same day. And so the natural consumption would be to consume it within 2 to 3 days. I would make sure that we sealed it, and that it was protected so that they could still be able to get the full nutrition value out of it as if they were juicing it themselves. When we got ready to go into the big scale of things, and as far as retailers reaching out to us, I still wanted to keep that integrity into my juices. But how could we do it in a large scale and still be effective as far as the health benefits of it? And there are ways, there are companies that I didn't even know about. And one of the good things I will say that came about from going into the big major stream was that my competitor, who already was in business and had been doing this for a while, reached out to me and asked me how could they help me? How could they help me, as far as being able to, grow my business even further and make it easier for me. And so I did the necessary research that I needed to do on as far as the equipment that they use to properly secure and seal the bottles. And there's pretty much a process that a lot of people may not have heard of, is HPP, and which is a way that we use to seal our juices into the containers that we produce them in. And of course, we had to go through the research to do a shelf life study and everything and find out the full terms of our juices. But it has been a way that we've been able to sustain our products, being able to still produce healthy juices, and you reap the nutritional values of it as if you were juicing at your home. I know for a lot of people, and first for myself in the beginning, it's a lot of work goes into it. I mean, you got to get the fruits and vegetables, you got to buy them, come home, clean them, and do all that. The process of putting them in the machine, then you got to clean the machine and do all that. And you're like, this is a lot of work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I found that out, with first just a couple of hundred customers and delivering all over to the city of Houston. And then now to go to major retailers, like, I can't do this in my kitchen.
Yeah.
I've got to find a better way to do this. And doing that partnership definitely helped us and has helped us to continue to grow and scale our business.
So are you in partnership with this competitor that you mentioned?
Yes.
Okay, so y'all are in partnership together.
Yes.
Okay. So talk a little bit about that if you can. I'm not trying to get too much of your business. So how did you scale? Do you have a facility that produces them? How do you distribute them to your customers? Talk about that transition and just going from doing it yourself to having a system that operates somewhat independent of you. I'm sure you take all the sales and kind of overlook things and probably have to go do a drop every now and again.
Yes.
But theoretically, you've created a system that can run independently. Talk a little bit about that.
That has been truly amazing. As we started with one Whole Foods in 2018, and from there we've grown to all 12 Whole Foods in the city of Houston and surrounding areas. And I think one of the major things was when we went into partnership with my competitor was, of course, having to have my attorney, Miss Jaylene Mack, draw up all the paperwork.
You work with Jaylene too. She does our women's forum at the Black Expo.
Yes.
So shout out Jaylene.
To get all of my paperwork in place as far as what this would look like on a contract basis. And it was the best thing that I could have did as a small business, because he's already there. His company is already there, $1 million. So they carry the overhead, and my expenses are very low. And as long as you know your numbers and you see the profitability that can come about from having a partnership, I definitely say it's a good thing to do. And so for us now, it's just about managing all of our purchase orders that come in from our retailers, and then making sure that they get fulfilled the time frame that we've set up, which in a 2-week turnaround time for us to be able to produce, because we want the freshest and we get our customers the freshest. It helped me to build negotiation skills as far as our retailers and, having them to meet our requirements and our demands, because, we are a small business. So we definitely want to make sure that we keep our expenses at a minimum.
Yeah.
And that has been great, being able to negotiate that with our 2 biggest retailers, Whole Foods and H-E-B.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cash flow, how has that worked? Have you had to go to the bank, lines of credit, things of that nature, or are you pretty much kind of self-funded still?
We are still, and that's one of the things that I tend to brag about our business and the growth and starting out. And I'm not saying this is the route for everyone to take, but I took an investment, working in oil and gas. I had built me up a nice little stash, not knowing that I was going to need it, but I was able to take that and invest in my business. Another thing that we did too to help throughout this process as we grow is that I was living in my home as a single mom. I sold my home and took the equity out of it to put into my business. So I have been able to keep myself from loans and self-fund my business. And one of my biggest things that I like to do is, I have this system that I use to raise capital for myself, for my business, $10,000 in 100 days. And I've done it several times. I teach it in my mentorship program. And it's amazing how much cash you just come into your hand, how much you spend on Starbucks, how much you spend going here and there, when you can save that money. And before you know it, in 100 days, you got $10,000 to invest in your business.
So talk about that. It sounds like you go 100 days of just being conscious of what you're spending. Every time you would normally spend $10 on a Starbucks, you put it into savings. And then when you get to 10,000, then you deploy it for an investment.
An investment in my business. What we need to do next? Do we need to do some more shelf life studies? How can we increase and different things, and getting ready, our products ready as we get more shelf space in the retailers that we're in. We want to be ready. So instead of spending it going on fun vacations yet, we're all about in the mindset of being ready. But I will say this too, as you're self-funding your business and trying to get started, that it is important and key that you build those relationships with banking institutions where you bank at, other CDFIs, so that when the time comes, so if we are approached by another retailer and we need $100,000 to be able to foot that first PO, I have those relationships already in place that we can get it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I'm very impressed. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm very jealous too. You're the person I wanted to be. I always tell people in my book, and I talk about if I would have done something different, I would have went into corporate America, worked, saved, because I just jumped out the window at age 19 with nothing, That was a very tough road. Honestly, I don't think I could have went that path. I don't think I would have lasted in corporate America. I just have too many rebellious, or why are we doing this way? Let's do it that way. I probably wouldn't have lasted, but theoretically, I would have loved to have been like you. And one of the principles that I talk about in my book is 3 principles to making wealth. I call it the 3M system: make, manage, and multiply. First, you got to make the money. Then you got to manage the money. And this is where most of us mess up. We make the money, but we don't manage it. And when I say manage it in such a way with there's some that's left over. Then you can multiply it. Make, manage, and multiply. So make the money, manage it to a point where there's extra. Take that extra and multiply it. And I advocate real estate. So I say save, get that $10,000. My first house I bought was $10,000, $100. It was $10,100. Out in South Park, $25,000 to fix it up. I'm in it for roughly $35,000. I'm renting it for $900 a month. So $35,000 in, $9,800 a year. I'm making 33% on my money. And the house was worth $60,000, $70,000. But if you don't never having a surplus, anything extra, then how can you multiply it? So, this is great. I love it. So talk a little bit about the process of, scaling. As I shared with you, I started a beverage company. Matter of fact, I called you when I started my beverage company because I'm trying to figure out how to manufacture it. I had to, the most difficult thing for me was, if you would have asked me going in what was going to be the most difficult part about my business, I would have said marketing it, sales, getting customers, da da da. I would have never said actually producing the product, because I just thought, I went a different route. I kind of had the recipe. My mama used to make it, but I wanted to make it large scale. So I went to a food scientist who gave me a recipe that we could then go to a manufacturer to replicate it. But it was the hardest thing to get it done on scale. Initially, I had a company here local. They did more sauces and things of that nature. So they said, we're expanding. So they couldn't get the taste right. And then they actually told me, they suggested I ask them glass or plastic. They say, plastic will be lighter and less, da da da. So I went to plastic. When I went in, they couldn't get the recipe right. I came in and I noticed they were pouring this little white powder in it. And I was like, why is that? And they were like, oh, well, this is sodium benzoate and such and such. This is what they do. When I talked to my food scientist, he was like, man, you need a run for these people. What are they doing? Come to find out, I had a hot pour beverage. So you had to pour it at, I think, 165 degrees or more. And if you poured it at 165 degrees in a plastic bottle, it melted. So I needed glass bottles, but they told me to get plastic. So now, because they were putting this stuff in it, it was to keep the bacteria down, because they had to pour it like 140, which then bacteria will grow in it unless you put this chemical. So that one didn't work. Then I had a company in Dubai. They said, we do all the production for Pepsi and Coke. And, oh, man, wonderful. Y'all know what you're doing. So I got a contract with them trying to do it, but come to find out, they distributed for Pepsi in Dubai. So there's a whole nother animal to have them distributed and then imported to the US. So couldn't do that. Then I went out to California and I had a company out there that could get it done. But by then we're in the middle of COVID, supply chain issues, and to produce 5,000 bottles, they telling me $28,000. Now, why? Because if I only needed a cup of something, I'm having to order 10 pounds because they wouldn't get the minimum. So it was just very, very, very costly. So talk a little bit about that from your perspective. Sounds like you created the recipes. So you don't use a commercial kitchen, and then how does your distribution work? Do you do drop shipping, or how does all that work?
So at our manufacturing plant where we do all the production of it, we have these big, huge machines that we use that does all the pressing of the fruits and vegetables for us. And the way the machines are, they know how much, percentage of apples, celery, cucumbers, all of that is manufactured into the machines to be able to produce thousands of bottles. And of course, the more bottles that we produce, it helps to save on the cost, because the machines are bought and equipped to produce large quantities of things. And so one of the things that we negotiated with our retailers is, being a small business, here's the minimum order we need you all to order with each PO. And then we need for you all to pick it up from our warehouse. Okay. That way it cuts down on us expenses of having to deliver to your store 3 and 4 trips a week and all of that. We cut it down, and we need 2 weeks to get production ready. So we get a PO on Monday. We've got 2 weeks to fill that order. They already know what time they need to pick it up from the warehouse, and it's done. And so pretty much for me, everything is submitted to me through email, from production to start to finish to completion, delivery, and everything. And then once we get the POs, then my assistant, which is my daughter, we log them in and submit for payment. And that's it. So it has really helped us by doing the partnership to be able to produce mass. So whether we're producing 1,000 bottles, to 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 bottles, we're able to meet that capacity. And one of the things that I want to share with our audience is, for me, I did not have that opportunity to just say, "Ooh, I'm finna jump out here." I have always worked, and even now I still work. I tell people, do your 9 to 5, work your job until you're able to pay yourself that salary or you see the benefits of it. I work 8 hours, but then I come home and I put 8 hours in for my business. Same time that I give to them people for them to make their money, I got to give it to myself to make the money. Yeah. And that way you're able to save. see the benefits of it. And as I go back and say, self-funding is the best way. So if I walk away from my business today, I don't have no debt. I don't owe nobody nothing. I can just walk away and say, I'm not making no more juice.
Yeah.
And I don't have to worry about paying nobody.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say that's cool, but build your brand. So when you walk away from it, somebody will buy it.
Oh, yes.
And you can get a check.
That's what we want.
Yeah. That's what we want. So this is awesome. Last thing I'll throw out, you just mentioned your daughter working in your business. She grew up with the business. How old is she now?
22.
22. So how important do you think that is? Leaving that legacy and the generational wealth aspect of it. Talk a little bit about that.
One of the biggest things that I can say I see in my daughter, she has the drive and ambition just like me. She knows the importance of customer service, and she's been around for the whole ride from us, being in the house, selling the house, to us being in a 2-bedroom apartment. What are the sacrifices that you've got to make to, make your business, to see the benefits of it? Hey, we're on this budget. We're not going to be eating out every week. You've got to save money. And so now she's working, she's in school, and she sees the benefits of all of that, Mom. I remember us having these conversations. And so she's able to apply all of this. And I think it has been a great lesson for her, even though she doesn't want to do the juice business. She wants to go into nursing to be around with the babies. But still, I still believe those values are instilled in her, that she's performing that way. She's working, she's hard. You've got to make sacrifices.
Man, this is an awesome conversation. Tamela, thank you so much for joining us. And let me yield to you for a minute. Tell the people where they can get Jive Juice, social media handles, all of that good stuff. This is your time to shine. Go and talk to them.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Jerome, for this opportunity to share. And yes, you can follow Jive Juice Company on all social media platforms. Our website is www.jivejuicecompany.com. That way you can learn about our product, my mentoring coaching that I've just started this year. We started this month. We are getting ready to do it again in February. So definitely a lot of good things that are going on. And if you want to know how to grow and expand your business, then I'm here to help you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tamela. And if you also want to grow and expand your business, make sure you get you a booth at the Texas Black Expo. You can go to book.texasblackexpo.com/I want it. And you can get our free course on trade show marketing called Winning with Vending. And if you want to book a call, so for someone to call you back and talk to you about buying a booth and the benefits, go to book.texasblackexpo.com/callback. But we're really excited. We're celebrating 20 years of service to the community. 20 years. We're going to have Magic Johnson coming down. It's going to be an awesome celebration, May 19th through the 21st in Houston, Texas. Get the VIP experience package. With the VIP experience package, you get all the receptions, the luncheon with Magic, complimentary access to all of our workshops and seminars, and it's going to be a fun time. So mark your calendars and go to the Black Money Tree website. Follow us at theblackmoneytree.com. Get the book, Closing the Wealth Gap. I teach you everything that I know about investing in real estate. If you're trying to get out of this rat race, trying to build your business, trying to generate wealth, we here at the Black Money Tree, we're committed to helping you. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for Tamela for joining us once again. And thank you all for joining us on another episode of the Black Money Tree podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Black Money Tree podcast. Don't forget to like and share this video. And if you want more content like this, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll see you next time.